Where Meat has been around for a while, but the new Kaifeng Palace expansion just added 3 of the hardest bosses in the entire game. So today I'm going to be trying to beat all 3 without dying, but if I do happen to die, then I'll give out a free CD key for every death. Huge thanks to Where Meat for partnering with me on this video to make that happen. It's been a while since I last played the game, but after coming across the latest clips of the Imperial Palace boss, I really wanted to dive back in and relearn the game together with you guys. So there are 3 bosses in total, and the first is the Blackclad. Before I could fight her, I had to find her first, and that meant getting into the sealed treasury, the most guarded location in the entire palace. I entered the expansion through the Lost Chapter quest. It was waiting for me at the Kaifeng gates. I teleported to the suburbs first to soak in the noise of Kaifeng a little bit, then I headed straight over to the gates toward the quest point. A group of citizens had gathered around Constable Wang, who was supposedly handling a string of thefts. Some loud guy in the crowd started mocking the investigation, and that caught my eye. I provoked him by making fun of his knowledge. He fell for it completely and then revealed himself as the thief in disguise. Classic. The thief ran away, and so did Constable Wang, except in the wrong direction. Guess it was up to me to track down the criminal. Using wind sense, I followed the footprints all the way to an alley and found him without his disguise, talking to a stray cat. The man seemed hypnotized by the animal and took it as his new pet. While leaving, he accidentally dropped something, an official seal of the patrol and inspection agency. Here's where things got weird. A middle-aged man appeared and congratulated me on already stealing the seal and passing a hidden test. As it turns out, he thought I was the thief, the great Phantom, so I decided to play along. My justice-serving protagonist senses were tingling, so I decided to follow him to his cart. And there I learned about a bigger plan. They were staging a heist on the Emperor himself. The seal theft was just a distraction because it pulled the agency and Imperial service away so security around the palace would drop. The target was a vault called the Sealed Treasury. It was personally guarded by the Emperor and being secretly built underneath the palace. He thought I was the thief, and without giving me time to think, he dropped me right in front of the Imperial service headquarters. I guess we were infiltrating the military that day. Right past the gates was an old friend, the Wayfarer, who gave me the map to the Kaifeng Palace area. The palace looked just as big as the city itself, so I wasn't gonna run out of things to do anytime soon. The tired soldiers welcomed me as a new recruit and let me look around. I started by talking to a nearby guard, but he got defensive immediately. He told me to look that way, and I fell for the oldest trick in the book. I woke up tied up in a cell with a guard and another familiar face, the prefect, who had helped me in the gold-making vessel investigation. To earn my freedom, I took the prefect's deal, keep playing along with the heist, and find out who was after the sealed treasury. Now, I was secretly working for the prefect, pretending to be a thief and pretending to be a soldier. I think that makes me a triple agent. Either way, the goal was clear now: keep my cover, figure out when the heist was happening, and find my way into the treasury. It was night patrol time, and I got there the only way this game allowed, jumping and parkouring off of rooftops like a madman. The guards told me a ghost story about an old tree, supposedly haunted by people killed back when raiders attacked the capital. It had bells shaking on their own, a spirit covered in blood, and honestly it sounded more like a cheesy Scooby-Doo setup to me, but the guards totally ate it up. Of course, they used my curiosity as an excuse to dump patrol duty on me, so I looked into a ghost and got into a slapping duel with a scared maid. Yeah, a slapping duel. Then I found a palace guard token and ended up at a cricket fighting tournament because the soldiers would not stop talking about their crickets. I caught my own cricket in the garden and named him Jeffrey. Jeffrey had the soaring spin ability and won his match easily. Then I tracked a sketchy soldier who always went to the bathroom after winning and never came back. We ended up back at the courtyard where I rang the haunted bell myself, scared him into admitting everything, and caught him in 4K. He told me the sealed treasury would finish its inventory the next day, and that was my window. No need to play soldier anymore, it was time to go in. Sealed was definitely the right word for this treasury because the security around this place was tight. Getting in without getting caught was going to be the real test, and one mistake meant fighting my way out against level 95 guards. I was not prepared for that. I helped myself to a chest that was breaking the laws of physics, then started a stealth section through the heavily guarded area. Wind sense let me see the aggro ranges of the guards, which was super helpful. As it turns out, they were all level 95, and if I got caught, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to make it out alive. A shady figure called the Blackclad Thief showed up out of nowhere, and all the assassin did was steal my token, insult me, and then dip. I knocked out a poor clerk in the bathroom, stole his outfit, and got inside the treasury where the bookshelves were stuffed with record books and stressed clerks were running around everywhere. I borrowed a key from a complaining official and opened a spinning bookshelf that led to the level below. While I was down there, I knocked out guards and clerks. The Blackclad thief from earlier jumped me, and we talked it out peacefully. I agreed to team up with her to find out what the censors were up to, then arrest her after. The big mystery down below turned out to be grain, military grain. Not the Emperor's private treasure at all. He had been stocking up supplies to pay for taking back the 16 prefectures of Yanyun. The Blackclad was so disappointed she flipped everyone off, kicked me down, and ran. The chase took us through the whole treasury and into a cart chase with quick time events, which was actually pretty awesome. When the guards knocked over my cart, I used my lightness skill to keep chasing her until we eventually ended in a big courtyard. We had her cornered, and now it was time to see how rusty I really was. The guards swarmed us from every direction, and my character challenged the Blackclad to a Jang-Hu duel. If I won, then she would have to tell us who sent her. I hadn't touched this game in months, and if there was ever a time I was gonna lose a CD key, then it was right here. I got hit a couple of times before my muscle memory kicked in. The deflect system was a lot like Sekiro's, so I was in my element. My task character had a sword and a heavier Mo blade. With both, I was able to use light sword hits between her attacks and trigger a special slice right after a deflect. Then I could use the dual weapon skill to swap weapons and swing the heavier Mo blade. The whole time, the soldiers kept a wall of shields around us, and it was one of the coolest arenas I'd seen in a while. This boss was insane. She was fast, had more combos than a fighting game character, and could flip around the arena to attack from the air. She even caught my blade with her fingernails before countering with a shoulder bash. That one almost caught me off guard. She was also using a light sword with a heavier blade, which made us a perfect mirror match. After fighting for a bit, my skills came back quickly, and I started switching around between light combos, martial skills, and my weapon's special skills. After a few intense moments, the fight was over. At least I thought so. Then she went to her second phase. In phase 2, the Blackclad was a completely different beast. She used chi energy to make whatever sword she wasn't holding float, so she was basically dual wielding. This let her block with either sword at any time. The light sword swung along with her during Mo blade combos, and could even be thrown like a projectile. She could also cast energy waves over and over, and she'd quickly fill her chi if I didn't keep the pressure up. I was running low on heals, but my muscle memory had fully kicked in by now, so I kept going, weaving between her attacks and punishing every opening. It was close, but I took her down before she could finish me off. The Blackclad was officially beaten. Afterwards, the thief caught up and the payment was due, but all she did was laugh and nod at the prefect who had just shown up. As it turns out, they knew each other. Everyone else, including my character and I, was very confused. Mysterious as ever, the prefect refused to tell us the truth, but the deal was already done and we were free to go. Next up, I had to find the other two bosses. I really wanted to keep going with the main story, but we weren't allowed to do the second chapter at the time of recording. The Confinement Tower and Big Zhao's Darkened version were both locked for phase 2. Thankfully, there was still a lot to do in this expansion though. I knew there was a Cat Emperor boss somewhere tied to fishing, but the problem was that nobody told me where he actually was, so I set out to find him myself. I started with the Spirit Ritual quest, then stumbled into a bunch of soldiers practicing a dance for a ceremony. The priestess in charge was sick, so I got called in to help. Using wind sense on her showed me exactly why. Her sickness wasn't really in her body, it was actually in her spirit, and it showed up as a dark mass gripping her back. I beat it in a therapy cards minigame, and that somehow managed to cure her, but she was too weak to lead the ceremony, so she asked me to step in. I never held a ritual for ghosts before, so I was pretty nervous, but my curiosity took over, and I agreed to come back at nightfall to get ready. With time to kill, I walked around the palace grounds and got distracted immediately. I found a spot full of crickets and caught a few, including a black omen cricket who knew Tai Chi. If you remember, that's the skill that lets players catch and juggle bears, so a cricket having it is actually pretty funny. The ceremony itself felt like a dream. We had guards on both sides of us in bright outfits and creepy masks, doing a dancing march into the massive temple. There were 3 masks for 3 memories. A young girl, a grandmother whose child starved to death during the war, and a soldier left standing under a blood moon to protect his city. Each mask came with a blessing, and the guards in the crowd reminded themselves how important it is to stick together, stay loyal, and have a purpose. The ceremony ended with a wild dance under a stormy sky. I honestly didn't expect this quest to go so hard on the visuals and the story. I actually decided to stop recording for the day, and then when I came back the next day, the map had completely changed and the palace grounds were covered in snow. I wasn't really sure if the quest caused it or if the servers did overnight, but either way, the new winter season brought a bunch of new side quests and activities to check out, and I still had 2 bosses to find, so the distractions continue. A funny looking cat challenged me to a history exam that I somehow passed. I solved 2 winter chess puzzles that needed spirit masks to peek into the other side. I took part in a dog race as a human. I got jumped by 2 palace cleaners for absolutely no reason. I found a jade fish chest that needed 12 hidden chests to unlock. I played a cat spirit weight puzzle and found the mouse king critters. And finally, I grabbed 2 golden vault keys and opened a secret vault. I somehow pulled the legendary gear tuning material, which was super lucky. The best part about it was that all of that was in one tiny square of the map. map. I was having a blast, but I was running out of places to look. Then I remembered what I'd heard about Cat Emperor, something about fishing. After finding a decorated lake at the top of a map, I ran into a quest NPC who looked promising. He was going on and on about a legendary king carp that he was hoping to catch at this spot. Nature called, so he left me to watch the spot. That's when something bit the hook. I fished it out, and the legendary carp got snatched out of the air by a goofy cat that stood like a person. There he was. We found our second boss. Let's see if a cat can take my first CD key. The Cat Emperor opened the fight by lunging across the stage with a grab, but I'd already dodged it. This fight had a strange rhythm to it. The boss had really quick hand-to-hand attacks that he did in between slower swings with his poor carp. Two things quickly caught my eye. First, he kept spamming that shockwave slam in front of him, and it had to be dodged instead of parried. I was better off switching between parries and dodges in this fight, and it seemed to be paying off. Second, he dealt way less damage than the black clad thief, and his chi bar was actually locked. Phase 1 went by smoothly, and when Phase 2 started, he slid across the arena towards me. A quick time event popped up, and I pressed it without thinking. That's when my character made a bunch of butterflies, while the Cat Emperor posed in the background. I was confused, but he seemed really happy. Then the fight picked back up. I noticed that he always got stunned for a few seconds after I parried some of his attacks, especially the second hit of his double strike. Once I started using that, the rest of his health bar just melted. Round 2 was cleared, and we still had all of our keys. I was on a perfect run. The last boss on our list was the secret boss. If I could beat her without dying, then I'd finish the challenge with a perfect record. But first, I had to actually find her. I solved some puzzles, sparred with soldiers who had some terrible teamwork, opened some chests, and dealt with the anger of a kitchen maid. It was all pretty fun, but I was starting to lose hope. I searched most of the map and found nothing. Then I walked up to a well in the northwest corner of the map. A cutscene started and everything got colder. The voice of a crying woman came up from far below as strange pieces of paper dragged my character down. It was the secret boss. I'd finally found her, the Gilded Lament. She was meant to show the sadness and pain of the palace maids. They lived trapped by rules and their dreams crushed as they got older. She wore a simple dress and fought by waving long strings of paper covered in ink writing. With her white glow against the blue of her arena, her attacks were pretty easy to read, but she hit twice as hard as the black clad whenever she did land a blow. The Gilded Lament was definitely parry focused. Her chi bar emptied pretty quickly, and executions dealt really high damage to her. This boss was really aggressive. She'd either charge or teleport at me for attacks, and whenever she did calm down, I was supposed to leave her alone, but the damage over time from my bleed effects always set her off. Even though I sometimes took up to 34,000 damage when I messed up a dodge, Phase 1 went pretty smoothly, and I still had half of my heals left for Phase 2. Just like the Black Clat though, her second phase was way harder, and she called on lost souls to power herself up. Right at the start, she went invincible. Her health bar locked, then I had to chip it back down to normal. She could also send out souls as magic projectiles. These messed me up the most. They were really hard to see coming when I was standing close to her, and even after I dodged the wave, once the slow motion ended, the next ones came back really quickly and destroyed my HP. Just like that, my perfect run was over, and here's your key. In round 2, I decided to bring out the parry god in me and focus on sword counters. I used the Mo Blade for the special skill that summoned spirit soldiers to do bonus hits whenever I did land counters and martial skills. Things were looking really good. It was apparent that the Black Clad Thief fight had sharpened my parry skills, and the Cat Emperor showed me how important dodging was. With these two things combined, now I was getting used to her and I was able to weave in counters and hits in between her combos. In my second attempt, I crushed her first phase in less than a minute and a half. Parry after parry, I was chipping her down. All of her attacks now had a ghost flame effect that drained my health for a few extra seconds, and it was starting to get brutal. Turns out her phase 2 also had a bunch of grab attacks, and they turned gentle hugs into deadly ghost flame. When her HP got low, she got her invincibility back and started going crazy. She teleported all over the place to spam combos and start throwing projectiles everywhere. At this point, I had learned her patterns though, so I stayed calm, managed my stamina, and waited for my opening. This fight was honestly beautiful. Despite everything that I went through, when I got to the final execution, I didn't really feel like I'd won. I just hoped the spirit could finally find some peace. With 3 bosses beaten and 1 CD key lost, the Gilded Lament was the only boss to take me down, and that wrapped up my time in the Imperial Palace of Where Winds Meet. Is it possible to beat the new Where Winds Meet expansion Deathless? Probably. It's gonna be really hard though, because these DLC bosses have hands. Overall, the expansion really surprised me though. 3 completely different boss fights, each with their own style, story, and difficulty curve. The Gilded Lament especially is one of the most beautiful boss fights I think I've played this year, and the amount of content packed into this map is absolutely ridiculous. I went in looking for 3 boss fights and came out doing history exams, fighting kitchen staff, catching crickets, and crying at a ghost ceremony. Where It Ends Me is available on PC, PS5, and mobile, and it's completely free to play, so definitely give it a try using the link in the description. The new Kaifeng Imperial Palace update is live now. Also, if you do play the expansion, I want to know what you think of these bosses. Which one gave you the hardest time? Did the Gilded Lament hit you the same way it hit me? Or am I overthinking it and need to go outside? Until then, keep an eye on the wells and don't challenge cats you don't know.